Well, howdy do, buckaroos. This is Joe Leydon of Cowboys and Indians magazine. And here I am today in the CNI studio to talk with Jefferson White, who plays the oft-beleaguered ranch hand Jimmy on the hit Paramount Network TV series Yellowstone. We'll be chatting about his role in the show and also his upcoming hosting chores on the Yellowstone Companion, a new podcast that was recorded at the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas and will be available for your listening pleasure on December 9th.
All right. And do you prefer Jefferson or Jeff?
Whatever's easiest. I usually go by Jeff to my friends.
Okay. Well, I hope to be your.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jeff, I could understand that, when you were cast in this series, you were all excited. Oh, this is going to be a big career break. I'm going to be working with Kevin Costner. And then you got to the part in the script where it says, and he's branded. How much trepidation did you feel when you saw that?
It's a little bit of both. I both felt trepidation for what Jimmy's path had in store, but also that's a version of job security. It was also, as an actor, you never know how long your character's going to make it, especially in a world like Yellowstone that's such a sort of brutal and sometimes surprisingly violent world. You never know how long your character's going to make it. So I think of the brand as a, in a best case scenario, job security, Now,
your characters had an interesting arc over these past few seasons. Have you noticed that when you're out in public and people react to you, they recognize you, have their reactions changed as your character has changed?
Yeah, a little bit. It's funny. I think, first season, it started out, a lot of people would yell out to me, "Hey, F you, Jimmy," or "Shut the F up, Jimmy," which that was very funny. That was sort of the most memorable, Jimmy's most memorable encounters in season one involved, being kicked around or beat up or pushed around. And then starting in season two, as Jimmy started rodeoing, that had a different sort of, a different sort of feel to it. And I think it mostly elicited sympathy. Like if people, Jimmy has a few moments of triumph, but then also a lot of moments of setbacks. So I got a lot of sympathy and people feeling sorry for me, which was really nice. And I think that I alongside Jimmy, hope one day to elicit responses that are neither sympathy nor derision. We can only hope to one day inspire confidence in people. So I think people like to root for Jimmy, and that's been constant throughout. I think he's always been sort of an underdog, and I've always been really grateful for people sort of rooting for him or pulling for him, because that's how I've felt since the beginning. Every script I get and read, I'm sort of crossing my fingers and hoping that Jimmy's gonna get his act together.
Well, now you're a clean-shaven man. Do you think you'll be accepted more as a sex symbol?
I think that's unlikely. The problem with Yellowstone is we don't have a shortage of sex symbols. You've got Kevin Costner, you've got Cole Hauser, you've got Luke Grimes, Ian Bowen, Denham Richards, Ryan Bingham. The standard for good-looking men is set pretty high. Jimmy's got a lot of competition in that regard, and I'm lucky in that I don't stand much of a chance competing with those guys. So I try more to fill the sort of lovable nephew niche, Yeah,
but you got to keep in mind, a lot of women who are watching this show, they might want in their dreams to have some of these other guys, but you represent a guy that would be accessible. Like they might run into him at the bar, or they might even run into him at the laundromat.
Yeah. Anybody who has a crush on Jimmy, I would sort of politely suggest that they raise their standards. Jimmy, that's not a very aspirational. You can do better. If you've got a crush on Jimmy, you can do better.
Well, Jimmy's not doing too badly for himself on the show. He's got a loyal young lady.
Yeah, and that relationship with Mia has been such a, it's funny, that character Mia, she really came into the picture when Jimmy was at his best. Jimmy was finding this newfound success in the rodeo. He was sort of the best version of himself for a little bit there. He believed in himself. He was finding this sort of newfound confidence. And that's when Mia came along and sort of saw Jimmy in the way that he really wanted to be seen. He really wanted to think of himself as a rodeo cowboy. He really loves, I think, the attention and the acceptance and the sort of, the joy of feeling like part of a community. I think he really felt like a part of that world and really felt like he belonged. But then I think when it all fell apart and when he got injured again, he really couldn't see himself in that way anymore. And almost all of that pride that he had felt turned to shame, So Mia knew him as this rodeo cowboy that he could no longer sort of feel like himself. You know what I mean? Like he was no longer capable of sort of filling those boots. I think so all of that pride that he had felt before, I think, turned to shame in an instant, and he could hardly, he couldn't sort of live up to that image of himself anymore.
Well, I want to talk about the podcast, but one last question about the show itself. Now I know Taylor Sheridan has actually really branded all of you in real life and has sworn all of you to secrecy. And if you spill any beans, you're going to be expected to pick them up and eat them. But can we expect Jimmy to make it to the last episode of the season without being seriously injured again?
I wish I could tell you. I'm right alongside viewers of Yellowstone. I am always sort of crossing my fingers, holding my breath that Jimmy's going to make it. He's got a long road ahead of him, and I think Taylor's the only one who knows whether he's going to make it to the end of that road or not. And I'm just as excited as a fan of the show, and I've been a fan of the show since I read the pilot, 4 years ago. I'm just I'm anticipating with the same sort of bated breath the fates of these characters, of Jimmy, but also of John and Rip and Luke and Monica, or Casey and Monica. I feel exactly the same sort of fear and concern and and like hope for these characters,
Because we spoke with Mr. Hauser not too long ago, and he said that actually none of you know.
Yeah, nobody knows. I don't think Taylor might know, but I think he's also amazing at responding to what's happening in real time. He's amazing at sort of following his impulses and trusting his gut. And so I think that he probably has a master plan, but he's also, that master plan has probably changed over and over again too, because he's an incredibly adaptable and sort of nimble writer.
Now, the podcast. When you were approached to do that, was your first reaction, "Oh, I get to go to Vegas," or I get to be a talk show host, or both?
My first reaction, after doing this show for 4 years, so many of the cast and crew, I'm proud to call so many of the cast and crew my friends. But at the same time, I rarely get the opportunity to sort of grill them and learn from them in a concentrated way. So my first response to the opportunity to do the podcast was just incredible excitement at the opportunity to learn from these brilliant actors, learn from the brilliant members of our crew and creative team that I get to talk to. So much of the journey of this show, for me, Jeff, has been learning from wiser, sort of more experienced, better actors, people who've been doing this for longer and who I respect so much. And so the podcast for me has been a real opportunity to get to ask some questions that I haven't gotten to ask in 4 years of pretending to be their peer, 4 years of trying to step into the shoes of being their coworker. So it's been a real opportunity to sort of learn from those those actors who I respect so much, and those members of the crew who I respect so much.
Did you have to do any prep work?
We absolutely, the main prep work I did was sort of digging a little bit into the background of these actors and crew members before Yellowstone. But then again, it's also like that, for me, that's what's the interesting conversations to sort of have on mic, you know, like I think that my goal as an interviewer is to be surprised by the person I'm talking to. My goal is to learn something that I didn't know. And to a certain extent, so for me, the prep work isn't so much about learning the answers to questions before I ask them. It's sort of trying to dig up what the interesting questions are going to be, you know, and then just trying to be available in the moment to sort of follow a thread that gets, you know, a thread that emerges to follow it, you know. So that's been the real game. Most of the prep work has been working together for the last 4 years. And then just trying to stay open and available in those conversations to what arises that's unexpected, you know?
Well, you've been very generous with your time. I've got a couple of final questions. What would you say was the biggest surprise you had while talking with these people? What were some of the things these folks said that really, you know, oh, really?
Well, it's been amazing to get to know each actor's sort of individual process, you know, because we've been doing this for years, but everybody's a real professional on set. We all sort of are working together. We're all sort of finding where our processes intersect or meet, you know. We have our work that we do on our own, and then our work we do together. So one of the great joys of it has been learning about the sort of background and process of these actors, because there's so much for me as a young actor to learn. You know, I learned so much from talking to Wes Bentley about his process. I learned so much also just from, like, there are a lot of these departments that as an actor we rarely get to delve into, you know. So talking to the show's music supervisor to learn about her process for sourcing music for the show, talking to Daryl, our Native Affairs consultant, to learn about his process. There's a lot of parts of the show that I'm never really privy to, because I'm just a goofball on set trying not to fall off a horse. So it's been a real gift to sort of get to dig into these facets of the show that I had never been exposed to, and to learn about sort of parts of this culture that I had never been exposed to, or parts of this community that I had never been exposed to. That's been a real gift. There's always, the show is endlessly surprising to me, but also the, like, culture and community surrounding the show offers so much for me to learn. You know, there's so much for me to still learn. And you know, there will be forever. Cowboying and this world is a sort of lifetime commitment. So I'll always be learning more about this world and this community. And so the show has been a real opportunity to learn, you know, to learn and sort of continue to try to understand this world and this culture.
But you mentioned the horses. Now you're playing a character who not only has to ride horses, but to ride horses who, like, don't want you on them. Who are looking around their shoulder going, hey, get off me, buddy.
Yeah.
What in your background prepared you for this?
You know, the only thing in my background that prepared me for it was a lifetime of learning and a lifetime of scrambling to keep up. You know, as an actor, it's our skill set is to drop into a world we don't know anything about, we've never seen before, and fight like hell to belong, fight like hell to survive. And the show has been the sort of truest expression of that. It's been the most important skill for me navigating the world of Yellowstone has just been learning, never thinking for a second that I'm done learning, never thinking for a second that I'm done growing, and just staying open to learning about horses, about the West, but also just from the other actors on the show. I have so much to learn as an actor from these other actors, you know. And being around Kevin, for me, for Jeff, being around Kevin is very much the same as it is for Jimmy to be around John Dutton. That's somebody who I admire so much. I have such a reverence for, and every minute around Kevin, around Cole, around Luke, around Forey is an opportunity to learn, you know? So I'm just trying to soak it all up as much as I can.
Final question. I'll tell the truth. While you were in Vegas, how much did you drop at the tables?
I really wanted to know what it was like to sit at a blackjack table, because it's fun. It's an amazing experience. And I've seen it. This is my first, doing the podcast is the first time I've ever been in Vegas in my life. And I wanted to just have an authentic experience of being, you know, a guest in Vegas and trying it out. So I managed to lose $200 very patiently over the course of several hours, and I don't have any regrets. It was worth it. That was a small price to pay to have the experience, you know?
Well, what happened in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas.
I know it's not staying in Vegas.
Because, you know, we're going to be able to enjoy you on your podcast. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Same here.